स्टार्ट करें। ओके चलो जी, लेट्स स्टार्ट। नेक्स्ट टॉपिक, जीडीपी एमपी एंड जीडीपी एफसी। जीडीपी एमपी एंड जीडीपी एफसी। मार्केट प्राइस, फैक्टर कॉस्ट। जीडीपी एट मार्केट प्राइस एंड जीडीपी एट फैक्टर कॉस्ट। ठीक है, look, if you want to understand GDP at MP and GDP at FC, you would need to understand the difference between direct taxes and indirect taxes. ठीक है, so first we'll discuss that, then we come on to GDP MP and GDP FC. ठीक है, what do? You leave a space of this much, leave space of this much and उसके बाद लिखिए। ठीक है, tax impact and tax incidence। tax impact and tax incidence। tax impact क्या है? tax impact is initial burden of tax। tax impact, initial burden of tax। ऋषि इसको बंद नहीं करता, अरे चाय दे दो प्लीज। अदरक वाली चाय मिलेगी? अदरक वाली चाय, हाँ और अच्छे चाय बना लेगा यार। इनिशियल बर्डन ऑफ टैक्स। टैक्स इंसिडेंस क्या है? अल्टीमेट बर्डन ऑन द टैक्स। अल्टीमेट बर्डन ऑफ द टैक्स। Suppose my annual income is 20 lakh rupees. Aman's annual income is 20 lakh rupees. And income tax calculated, it comes out to say 1 lakh। ठीक है, तो इस केस के अंदर tax is imposed on Aman, and who would pay the tax? Are you going to pay the tax? No. In this case, tax paid by Aman। ठीक है, कोई चक्कर नहीं। If you haven't understood, no issues, you just write it please। आप लास्ट में जो बैठी हैं, आप अपनी सीट चेंज कर लीजिए, यहाँ कहीं भी आ जाइए, बिकॉज यू आर हाइडिंग अमंग बिहाइंड ऑल दिस पीपल। आई एम नॉट एबल टू सी यू। सिट एनीवेयर एल्स। तुम लोग क्यों उठ रहे हो? शी इज एट द लास्ट. I didn't know the world is so accommodative. I asked her to move up. तो रुको रुको. If you're hiding behind us, we'll get up. ये लिख लिया आप लोगों ने? चले आगे. कब? अभी क्या है कि the class would get over at 10:30, right? So after 10:30 you would go to हल्दीराम्स. क्या खाओगे? What would you have? क्या खाएगा बेटा? कॉफी. कॉफी कॉफी के साथ कुछ और? मैं डोसा खाऊंगा. कितने का है डोसा? What's your name? Spelling? S?
KGOMB.
Come again? हाँ हाँ.
KGBE.
OMBE. That's it?
Not S.
This, right?
Yes.
What does it mean? Laughing. I won't tell the meaning. I'll show it. Is it? What does it mean? Yoga. Okay, Yogajan. ठीक है. तो how do you pronounce it? Agombe. तो ये अगोम्बे है भाई. ठीक है. बैठ जा. अगोम्बे है. ठीक है. अगोम्बे ही हैज अ डोसा. डोसा कितने का हल्दीराम पे? हाँ. Suppose the dosa is of 100 rupees. 100 का नहीं है, 180 का है, but still let's take it 100 rupees, right? You would pay 100, but you would also pay 5 rupees GST, right? Similarly, you guys taking class at ALS. ALS is giving you service. आपका नाम? रिन चम. CHAM, right? Rin Cham. RI? यार. Okay, Ring Cham, right? So Ring Cham is taking service, so she would pay a fees. Their fees of 1 lakh rupees. Along with this 1 lakh, she would also pay 18,000 GST. ठीक है. अब इम्पोर्टेंट क्या है कि GST is imposed on any entity which produces goods or services. ठीक है. एग्जाम्पल देता हूं एक और. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, we got GST in 2017. ठीक है. Before 2017, suppose I am the one who is manufacturing this bell and say stay in UP. ठीक है. क्या बोल रहा हूं मैं? कौन हूं? आई एम अ bell manufacturer, right? And my office, or I would say the place of production, it is in UP. ठीक है. So what I do? I manufacture this bell. I'm in UP. Anyone here from UP? You are from दिल्ली. तो तुम यूपी से हो. ठीक है. Wholesaler is in UP. Then what does she do? She sells to a retailer who is also in UP. Retailer sells to someone who is an end customer, say who is also in UP. ठीक है. Supply chain is a manufacturer, right? So whenever a good is manufactured, ठीक है, whenever a good is manufactured, the central government whenever a good is manufactured, the central government would impose a tax. Excise duty. Is it okay? लिख रहे हो साथ साथ? Keep on writing. Whenever a good is manufactured, the central government would impose a tax called excise duty. ठीक है, मतलब इस केस के अंदर he is a manufacturer, so on him इस केस के अंदर he is a manufacturer, therefore on him, on the manufacturer, central government would impose a tax called excise duty. ठीक है. Then wholesaler is in UP, retailer is in UP, right? इस केस में क्या हो रहा है? इस केस के अंदर there is intrastate sale or intrastate trade. You understand what is intrastate sale या फिर intrastate trade? Intrastate sale means seller and buyer in same state. Seller and buyer in same state. Whenever the seller and buyer are in the same state, that time the state government will impose a tax. So this tax is imposed on sale. It's not being imposed on manufacture. It's imposed on sale of goods. एक मिनट रुको जरा, लिखो मत. मैंने क्या बताया? Whenever a good is manufactured, central government would impose a tax called excise duty. Similarly, whenever a service is produced, ठीक है ना, गुड प्रोड्यूस हुआ, कौन सा टैक्स? एक्साइज ड्यूटी. सर्विस प्रोड्यूस हुई, कौन सा टैक्स? सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट विल इंपोज अ टैक्स कॉल्ड सर्विस टैक्स. समझ में आ रही बात? मैं क्या बोला कि गुड इज प्रोड्यूस्ड, सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट इंपोजेस एक्साइज ड्यूटी. सर्विस इज प्रोड्यूस्ड, सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट इंपोजेस सर्विस टैक्स. ओके. इसके बाद मैं क्या बोला? बिकॉज वेन एवर अ गुड इज प्रोड्यूस्ड, व्हाई वुड समवन प्रोड्यूस अ गुड? व्हाई वुड आई प्रोड्यूस दिस बेल? क्या करना है मेरे को? व्हाई वुड आई प्रोड्यूस दिस? व्हाई वुड आई प्रोड्यूस दिस? व्हाट डू यू वांट? आई एम प्रोड्यूसिंग टू सेल. Can you understand? So I am producing to sell. So when the seller and buyer are in the same state, That's a case of intrastate sale. So whenever the seller and buyer are in the same state, that time the state government would impose a tax called VAT, value added tax. VAT was earlier called sales tax. ठीक है, was earlier called sales tax. Is it okay? इसके बाद suppose the retailer is in UP, but he is in UP, he is in MP, he is also in MP. ठीक है, तो ये जो इंस्टेंस है, दिस इज intrastate sale, right? Seller and buyer in same state, while this is a case of interstate sale. ठीक है, MP same state, intrastate sale, seller UP, buyer MP, intrastate sale, is in UP, this is interstate, UP में seller है, buyer is in other state, this is a case of interstate sale, right? So whenever there is a case of interstate sale, whenever we have interstate sale क्या है? Seller and buyer in different states, right? So whenever there is interstate sale, that time the central government will impose a tax. ठीक, and that tax is called CST. What can be CST full form? T से क्या होगा? टैक्स. सही. S से क्या होगा? सेल. C से क्या होगा? सेंट्रल सेल्स टैक्स. Generally sales tax imposed by state government, but whenever the sales tax is imposed by the central government, it would be called a central sales tax. Is it okay? So I have told you about 4 taxes. कौन कौन से 4 टैक्स कराए हैं भाई आपको मैंने अभी तक? Told you 4 taxes. Those 4 taxes are, first one was excise duty. When is excise duty imposed? Whenever a good is manufactured, excise duty imposed by the central government, right? Similarly, whenever a service is produced, that time again the central government would impose service tax, right? Similarly, whenever there is intrastate sale, the state government would impose VAT, which was earlier called sales tax, right? And whenever we have interstate sale, that time the central government would impose सेंट्रल सेल्स टैक्स। ओके, चलें आगे। अभी क्या है, नाउ एक्साइज ड्यूटी, सर्विस टैक्स, sales tax and central sales tax, right? All these taxes, they have been subsumed into GST. Is it okay? ठीक है. So earlier, if you would buy a good, I would either pay service tax or VAT something. For example, if before 2017, right? If you would come to ALS, take classes, service, you would pay your fees, but would pay along with this सर्विस टैक्स. ठीक है. 2017 में वी गॉट जीएसटी. 2017 से पहले इफ यू वुड कम टू एएलएस एंड पे फीस, यू वुड पे सर्विस टैक्स. एंड 2017 से ही पहले इफ यू वुड गो टू हल्दीराम्स एंड यू वुड हैव अ डोसा, you would pay price of dosa plus service tax, as Haldiram is giving you a service, but you would also pay a VAT because Haldiram is a seller, you are the buyer. Can you understand this? So now abhi aisa nahi. Have you written this part? What did I tell you yesterday? That whatever I write on the board, if I write whatever on the board, you should be writing this whatever in your notebook. वो बिल्कुल clear है. ठीक है. Is it okay? अभी ऐसा नहीं है. अभी क्या है? Now if you go to Haldiram's or you come to ALS, instead of paying sales tax, instead of paying service tax or VAT, you pay only GST. ठीक है. We'll discuss this part again in detail when we do taxation chapter. Here I'm telling you something else. What I'm trying to put over here is this GST, right? And even this GST. The GST is imposed on Haldiram's and ALS. एक मिनट समझ लो. इस केस के अंदर, एनुअल इनकम वाले केस के अंदर, इट्स माय एनुअल इनकम and the income tax is imposed on me. Is it okay? And I would be paying this 1 lakh rupees. You won't be paying it. What I'm telling you is the income tax is imposed on Aman, is being paid by Aman, right? इस केस के अंदर GST is imposed on Haldiram's and ALS. But what does Haldiram do? The tax is imposed on Haldiram's, but it doesn't pay the tax from its own pocket. It collects this 5 rupees GST, and this 5 is then given to the government. Similarly, ALS gives this 18,000 to the government. अभी in both these cases, in this case as well as this case, can I say that GST is imposed on Haldiram's and ALS? But who is paying them? You guys are paying it, right? So can I say GST is actually paid by the end customer? ठीक है? So can I say कि क्या कहना है मेरे को? In case of GST, in this case, is imposed on Haldiram's and ALS, can I say for GST tax impact कहाँ पे है? Haldiram's and ALS, the entity on whom tax is imposed. And what is tax incidence? The one who actually pays the tax. That's the definition of tax incidence, right? Can I say tax incidence is on the customer? Is it clear? Is it okay till here? Shall I repeat? You want me to repeat or is clear? Repeat? I'll repeat. इधर आ जाओ दोबारा एक बार सब लोग लिख लिया आप लोगों ने समझो in case of income tax the tax is imposed on me. What is the definition of tax impact? Initial burden means on whom the tax is imposed, right? And what's the meaning of ultimate burden? The one who actually pays the tax. That's the meaning of ultimate burden. Can you understand this? यहाँ तक okay? Look, if you don't speak, I can't move ahead. Is it okay till here? हाँ. So tax impact क्या है? Tax impact is initial burden. Tax incidence is ultimate burden, right? Tax impact is the entity on whom the tax is imposed. Tax incidence is the entity who actually pays the tax, right? Now, in case of income tax, the tax imposed is on me because I am having the income, so tax is imposed on me, and I'll be the one who is paying the tax. सही है? Can I say in case of income tax, tax impact and tax incidence are on the same person? Tax impact on me, tax incidence is on me, the entity on whom tax is imposed and the entity who is paying the tax, both are same, right? Is it clear? ठीक है, इस केस में आओ, अभी हल्दीराम्स वाले केस में या फिर एएलएस वाले केस में, इस केस के अंदर हल्दीराम जीएसटी is imposed on Haldiram's, GST is imposed on ALS. GST is imposed on Haldiram's and ALS, hence in case of GST, tax impact is on Haldiram's and ALS, right? But what do these people do? Instead of paying the tax from their own pocket, they collect the tax from their customer and they give it to the government, right? So in this case, who is actually paying the tax? The tax is being paid by you people, right? So in this case, tax is actually paid by the end customer, or tax incidence is on the end customer. Can you understand this? No. So what are direct taxes? What is a direct tax? Direct tax is when tax impact and tax incidence are on same person. Tax impact and tax incidence are on the same person. Example, income tax. Income tax क्या है? It's a tax on income of households. Tax on income of households, it's called income tax. And other example is corporate tax. What's corporate tax? Tax on profit or income of corporates. Corporate taxes, tax on profit or income of corporates. Is it okay? And income tax as well as corporate tax. Both are imposed under Income Tax Act 1961. And what are indirect taxes? When tax impact and tax incidence are on different persons. Tax impact and tax incidence are on different persons. एग्जाम्पल क्या हो गया? एग्जाम्पल जीएसटी, राइट? या फिर अर्लियर एक्साइज ड्यूटी, वैट, सीएसटी, सर्विस टैक्स. भाई सबको क्लियर है क्या करवा रहा हूं मैं? इज इट ओके टू एवरीवन? चाय पियोगे? ये समझ में आया आपको डायरेक्ट टैक्स इनडायरेक्ट टैक्स क्या है? अब मेरी बात समझिए, वापस यहां पे आते हैं. So you would think that ALS is getting a piece of 1 lakh rupees. 1 lakh is profit of ALS. Nahi. 1 lakh is not profit of ALS because this 1 lakh would help ALS to pay rent, would help ALS to pay for salaries, would help ALS to pay for interest, right? So this 1 lakh, it is actually value addition. It's value addition. Now, from this 1 lakh rupees, example, rent, salaries, interest, plus miscellaneous cost, the cost on study material and all, right? Suppose that cost, example, this cost is 80,000. 80,000 per person. Can you understand this? So therefore, the profit comes out to 20,000 per person. You people are paying your fees, right? Don't you think it's this fees which is helping ALS to pay my salary? It's this fees which is helping ALS to pay for this cost. This fees which is helping ALS to pay for electricity bills. This cost which is helping ALS to pay the rent. तो है तो ये 1 lakh रुपया ही. It's just 1 lakh rupees. It's, if we go by unit basis, if suppose we have 20 people in the class and say total admissions, then let us say total admissions in ALS Pan India, total admissions, it is out to say 1,000 rupees. 1,000 number of admissions is 1,000, right? And what is fees per head? Right? This is the total fees. So what is the total value addition? I won't say total profit. Total value addition is 1 lakh into 10 crores. And there would be expenditure also. Suppose that expenditure comes out to 8 crore. How 8 crore? 80,000 per head into 1,000 people. Cost comes out to 8 crores. Can you understand what I'm talking about? This is what ALS is total getting. I hope you understand these are just numbers, right? This is what ALS is getting in total from you guys, from the kids, from the admissions. That doesn't mean the complete 10 crore rupees is going in the pocket of directors. This 10 crore rupees will be helping ALS to take care of the expenses. And remaining is the profit. This profit is 2 crores, right? On this 2 crore, ALS will pay income tax also. It's a proprietorship. Corporate tax would be coming in case of Haldiram's. Let me come to this. Hold on guys. Don't write. Haldiram is selling you dosas, earning money. Suppose total earning of Haldiram's, it is 100 crores. But again, dosa is of 100 rupees, right? That doesn't mean the profit is 100 rupees. Haldiram is also paying rent, right? It's also paying for raw materials. It's also paying for the plates and all. It's buying them from somewhere. It's also buying vegetables from somewhere, buying the raw material from dosa from somewhere. There would be some cost attached to everything which Haldiram is selling to us. So suppose the total cost, I won't say total earning, I would say total revenue. Revenue means whatever we are paying. Total cost, it suppose comes out to 60 crores. Right? So profit is 40 crores. Haldiram pays corporate tax. On 40 crores. Can you understand what I'm talking about? What I'm saying is, we as individuals, सुनो मेरे को पहले, we as individuals, we pay only income tax. We earn money, we earn our salaries, and we pay income tax on it. Whenever we buy something, we pay GST on it. We pay GST to the shop, to the mall, to the coaching institution from where we are having services or goods. Shop owners, restaurant owners, coaching institution owners, they pay GST to the government. They collect it from their customer and pay to the government. They do not pay GST from their own pocket. They collect GST from their customer and then they pay that GST to the government. At the same time, they are producing a service. In producing that service, they would be earning some money. So whatever is the earning on that money, they also pay income tax or corporate tax. So every shop owner is liable to pay to the government two different taxes. One, GST, which it is collecting from its customer. Is it okay? So every shop owner would have to file GST return every month. हर महीने GST return file करना है. ALS has to file GST return every month. Haldiram's has to file GST return every month. Any hospital over here, any shop over here, they have to file GST return because they're collecting that GST from their customer and they have to pay that GST to the government. They're not paying GST from their own pocket. They're collecting the GST from their customer and then paying to the government. Can you understand this? At the same time, any shop owner, any hospital owner, any restaurant owner, it would be making some profit also. On that profit, the shop owner also has to pay an income tax. Can you understand this? So we are paying to the government income tax. We have to pay only income tax. Shopkeeper has to pay GST as well as income tax. So if the shop owner doesn't pay GST to the government, there will be penalty on the shopkeeper, not on us. Well, it's the responsibility of the shopkeeper to collect GST from us and then give to the government. Can you understand this? The point is, in case of income tax or in case of corporate tax, the tax is imposed on us or the corporate, and it's we or the corporate who pays the tax. The tax impact and tax incidence are on the same person. In case of GST, the tax is imposed on educational institution, the tax is imposed on a shop, but they do not pay the tax from their own pocket, they collect it from the customer and then pay to the government. So in case of shop, in case of restaurant, tax impact and tax incidence are on two different persons. Can you understand this? ये समझ में आ रहा है कि टैक्स इम्पैक्ट और टैक्स इंसिडेंस सेम पर्सन और डिफरेंट पर्सन्स क्या है? कैन यू अंडरस्टैंड दिस पार्ट? गुड. हैव यू रिटन ऑल ऑफ दिस थिंग्स? ये सब लिख लिया आप लोगों ने? ये डन है, राइट? नाउ we started from here, right? We started from, I asked you to write direct tax, right? Have you written the definition of direct taxes? What's a direct tax? When tax impact and tax incidence are on the same person, it's called direct tax. And when tax impact and tax incidence are on the different person, it's called indirect taxes. Is it okay? Clear? Good. I had told you to write GDP MP, right? After that, I asked you to leave some space. After that, you started with this thing, right? Whatever you have written till here, put it in a box. All discussion since morning, put it in a box. Because this discussion is not part of national income chapter, this discussion is of taxation chapter. Can you understand this part? सबको taxation में डाल लो, box में डाल लो. चले आगे. अब समझो. Now come to GDP MP. ठीक है? Okay. Say this bell. I told you about factor incomes yesterday. We have 4 different factor incomes. कौन सी हैं? Rent, wages, interest, profit, right? If I do, this symbol is for summation, right? If I add the factor incomes, if I add all factor incomes, I get factor cost. What is factor cost? Cost incurred by the producer on factors of production. लिख लो factor cost क्या है? It's a cost incurred by the producer on factors of production. Cost incurred by the producer on factors of production, that's called factor cost. All right. Let's talk about this bell. Okay. For this bell, suppose the factor cost is 100 rupees. The one who is making this bell, for him the cost on factors of production is 100 rupees, right? And say GST on this bell is 12%, which is 12 rupees. Okay. The government says that if a coaching institution buys this bell, then the government would give a subsidy of 3 rupees. Suppose the government gives a subsidy of 3 rupees on this bell, or on this bell, sorry, not bell. Therefore, what would be the market price of this bell? 109. Market price is equal to factor cost plus indirect taxes minus subsidies. ठीक है, लिख लो साथ साथ, कीप ऑन राइटिंग. The market price is equal to factor cost plus indirect taxes minus subsidies. ठीक है. अब मैं क्या करूंगा? I'll put this symbol. On both sides of the equation. So it comes out to ठीक है. Now, what is summation of MP? Summation of MP means I'm adding the market prices of all final goods and services. If I add the market prices of all final goods and services, what do I get? GDP. कौन सी वाली? MP. I get GDP. MP. So what is GDP MP? GDP MP is summation of or sum of market prices of all final goods and services. The sum of market prices of all final goods and services, right? And what is summation of FC? This is GDP FC, right? So if I add factor cost of all final goods and services, I get GDP FC plus total indirect taxes minus total subsidies. So GDP MP is equal to GDP FC plus total indirect taxes collected that year minus total subsidies given that year. So this is the relationship between GDP MP and GDP FC. ठीक है? This is also called as net indirect taxes. So GDP MP is equal to GDP FC plus net indirect taxes. Is it okay? GDP MP, GDP FC, excise duty, CST, sales tax, VAT, direct taxes, indirect taxes, tax impact, tax incidence, वो सारा concept clear है? Take a minute, go through it, go through whatever we have discussed since morning. Take a minute or two, revise whatever we have discussed. हो गया जी, कर लो आराम से, टेक अ मिनट, नो इश्यूज। हो गया, गुड, ऑलराइट। बहुत पढ़ लिया यार ना। व्हाट्स योर नेम? सोइंग गम, यू फ्रॉम अरुणाचल। अगोम्बे, यू फ्रॉम मणिपुर। सोइंग बे, योर नेम इज, सॉरी, सोइंगम, सोइंगम, ऑलराइट। आपका नाम? जेमिना, ऑलराइट, यू फ्रॉम मणिपुर, ठीक है। आप बच्चे, आपका नाम? You know, I'm asking your name. I'm asking everyone, have you understood, not understood? No one is speaking. Now call your names and ask, have you understood or not? So Tayingam, have you understood? Good. हाँ बेटा, जमीना, you're from Manipur, right? हाँ बेटा, आपका नाम? बेटा तुम्हारे सिंपल नाम नहीं है क्या, लक्ष्मी, पार्वती, ऐसे कुछ? क्या नाम है तुम्हारा, बता। स्पेलिंग बोल। THINGAMPHI। तुम्हारा नाम क्या था बेटा? टी टी NG और जमीना। वो जेमिनी वाला, एप्पल वाली जेमिनी वाला, जेमिना, राइट? तो नाम बता, इसका मतलब बता बेटा, तोयंगम, व्हाट डज इट मीन? लक्ष्मी, लक्ष्मी ऑफ इन लॉज। Why would your parents keep such a name? I am raising a girl for 25 years, 30 years, and taking care of her health, taking care of her education, and she's giving Lakshmi to someone else. I am already giving my Lakshmi to someone else. You go to that place, they would be happy. ठीक है, क्या ऐसा नहीं। तो इनकम, ठीक है, इट्स गुड नेम। जमीना, आपका मतलब बेटा, व्हाट डज इट मीन? पार्डन? ओके, वाह यार, कितना अच्छा नाम है। What does it mean? How do you pronounce it? Hingam P. He. What does it mean? वाह यार, इतना अच्छा नाम है। तेरा नाम क्या है? हैं? माही, एक सिंपल नाम। हाँ, माही, महेंद्र सिंह धोनी वाला, राइट? माही, ठीक है। हाँ बेटा, आपका नाम? रिंकी। हाँ यार, थैंक्स, थैंक्स फॉर कीपिंग अ सिंपल नेम। रिंकी, राइट? इट्स अ पॉइंट ऑफ लाफिंग। आता है मेरे को, आई नो इंग्लिश। हाँ बेटा, आपका नाम? हाँ, ये K, हाँ, LAM, Q, LAM V. What does it mean? Pardon? Good in everything. Acha. Why? Q. It's which language? Language. This is language. It's a new lesson for me. YA spelling, language spelling. LAM. It's a language. It's a tribe. All right. This tribe has a different language. Okay. So you're from which place, beta? Nagaland. So is it like in Nagaland, Manipur, Mizoram, में different tribes, they have different languages? And do you have that, what do we call it? Means, can you write it or you can just speak it? Do you have a script for it? There's no script for it, just you can speak, right? ठीक है. So your is Q Lam V. Fair enough. And your name is, this is my last word, it's too difficult for me. And please, tomorrow onwards, sit at these places only. For me, it's like you are Thingamfi. No, you are Toingam, yes. You are Toingam, right? This girl, you are this. Thingamfi, right? You are simple name, Rinki. Tagombe. Gemina. QLMV, right? KHI Q QLMV. ठीक है, गुड. आपका नाम बेटा? हाँ, एंजल. दैट्स नाइस. बाकी कल पूछूंगा, ठीक है? You know what? India is so diverse, so diverse. Means I have taught almost everywhere. Means except Northeast, I have taught in complete India. One of the most beautiful names I have ever encountered is in Kerala. Most of their names are in Arabic. And they're so beautiful names. जैसे हिंदी names क्या है? रमेश, सुरेश, ये नाम है. बिल्कुल सिंपल नाम है, राइट? उनके ऐसे कॉम्प्लिकेटेड नेम्स है ना, they're taken from Arabic, from Urdu. Amazing names. So उसके बाद after Kerala, I have encountered these type of names today. That long time back. But इतना अच्छा नाम means really good to know your names. I will try to learn them. Putting up a screenshot in my mobile. फोटो ले लिया. कल दोबारा बात करेंगे, दोबारा रिवाइज करेंगे. ठीक है? Good thing is that you are very few in numbers. So it won't have too much load on my head. Right? ठीक है? Let's continue. Have you been able to understand whatever we discussed this morning? ठीक है, एक्साइज ड्यूटी, वैट, सीएसटी, सर्विस टैक्स, जीएसटी, टैक्स इंपैक्ट, टैक्स इंसिडेंस, जीडीपी एमपी, जीडीपी एफसी, ये सब क्लियर है? चलते हैं, चलो आगे, शाबाश. जीएनपी, ग्रॉस नेशनल प्रोडक्ट. ग्रॉस नेशनल प्रोडक्ट. Write down. It's the market value of all final goods and services produced by the nationals of a country. Irrespective of the place of production, irrespective of the place of production. Next sentence. What matters in GDP is what matters in GDP is where is the production taking place. And it doesn't matter who is carrying out the production. On the other hand, what matters in GNP is who is carrying out the production, and it doesn't matter where is the production taking place. It doesn't matter where is the production taking place. ये कहाँ चल गया? ये आउटपुट इधर आएगा. समझो, ये इंडिया के अंदर is an Indian who is staying in India. Then suppose he is a Nepalese who is staying in India. इंडिया के अंदर I have SBI, Indian firm in India. ये क्या है? Indian firm in India. Indian individual in India. Keep on writing. Rinky phone mat dekh. That's the reason I asked your names. Foreign individual in India. KFC. Foreign firm in India. क्या बेटा नाम क्या तुम्हारा? रिंगचम. यस सॉरी रिंगचम. हाँ रिंगचम, बता क्या डाउट है बेटा? इंडियन इंडिविजुअल इन इंडिया. Indian individual in India. Foreign individual in India. Indian firm in India. Foreign firm in India. ठीक है. She is Priyanka Chopra, and this is Haldiram's. प्रियंका चोपड़ा कौन? इंडियन इंडिविजुअल staying abroad. And what is Haldiram? Indian firm in abroad. ठीक है, अब समझो. Look, this classroom is India, right? तुम सब लोग कौन थे? इंडियन स्टेइंग इन इंडिया, राइट? तुम सब लोग कौन थे? पाकिस्तानी, अफगानिस्तान, अफगानी, बांग्लादेश तुम कल थे नहीं. बांग्लादेशी, नेपाली, भूटानी, अफगानी, पाकिस्तानी, श्रीलंकन तुम कल यहाँ थे वैसे. ठीक है, यू आर फॉरेनर स्टेइंग इन इंडिया, राइट? दिस इज सपोज स्टेट बैंक, दिस इज KFC. So we in this country we have Indians staying in India, we have foreigners staying in India, we have Indian firms in India, we have foreign firms in India. Similarly, this is abroad. We would have a lot of Indians who are staying abroad. We would also have a lot of Indian firms abroad. So when I say GDP, GDP is what is being produced here. It doesn't matter who is carrying out the production. When I say GNP, it means whatever is being produced by Indians, and it doesn't matter where is the production taking place. So in GNP, what matters is what you guys are producing and what Indians abroad are producing. We won't be including their income in GNP of India. We won't be including the value of this foreign firm in India's GNP, right? But we would be adding the, so point is, when I say point is, in GDP, I would have incomes of Indian firms and Indian individuals. In GDP calculation, it would be calculated, but in GDP calculation, I would also be including the income of foreign individuals and foreign firms. Now from GDP, I need to derive GNP. I already have GDP with me. लिखना नहीं है, समझ लो, थंग पे समझ लो एक बार. I already have GDP with me, right? GDP is whatever we are producing here. In this GDP, what do? I add factor incomes of Indians staying abroad. एंजल समझ ले एक बार पहले. I'm not adding just incomes. I'm adding factor incomes. Because when I say income, income means of only individuals, right? I'm not talking about income of individuals. I'm talking about factor incomes. When I say factor income, it would include everything: wages, rent, profit, interest. I would include all these four. यही तो है factor income: rent, wages, interest, profit. So what I'll do is, whatever I am calculating over here, whatever is being produced in India, this complete all these four, I add with them the factor incomes of Indians staying abroad. So when I say just Indians, you would assume Indian individuals. But when I say factor incomes, it means Indian individuals as well as Indian firms. Can you understand this? If I say income of if I say income of Indians abroad, so you would assume income of Indian individuals abroad. But when I say factor incomes of Indians abroad, it means not only Indian individuals, but Indian firms too. Can you understand this? What I do? In this, I add income of Priyanka Chopra, I add income of Haldirams, which are in abroad. But I would also subtract what do I need to subtract? Can you understand this? So if I have to derive GNP from GDP, I would have this, whatever we are adding in this, all these four factor incomes I have. In this four factor incomes, I add the income of these two and I subtract the income of Nepalis and a foreign firm in India. That would be giving me GNP, because that would be the sum of his income, his income, his income and his income without income of these two. Can you understand this? So this is the relationship between GNP and GDP. Now hold on, don't write. What I'm doing is, I have GDP with me. In this GDP, I'm adding certain factor incomes of Indians staying abroad, right? But I'm subtracting the factor incomes of foreigners staying in India, right? These two numbers, this green box, right? This green box, it is called NFIA, net factor income from abroad. NFIA is this box is NFIA. Is it clear? लिख लो. हो गया जी, चलें आगे, चलें बेटा. अब समझो. अभी क्या है कि I'm talking about factor incomes, right? I'm not talking about just incomes. So if I talk about, we'll be focusing on wages and we'll be focusing on profits. ठीक है? Tell me one thing. Do we have more Indian individuals working abroad or we have more foreign individuals working in India? We have more Indians who are working abroad, right? So obviously wages of Indians working abroad is more than wages of foreigners working in India. यहां तक सही है? This is one part. दूसरा पार्ट बताइए. Do we have more foreign firms in India or we have more Indian firms operating abroad? More foreign firms in India, right? So we have. So what would be more? The profit of foreign firms in India would be more or the profit of Indian firms abroad would be more? हाँ जी. Foreign firms in India would be more. So profits of foreign firms in India is more than profits of Indian firms abroad. ठीक है भाई? रिंगचम डाउट है कुछ? Clear? But now I need to work on both of them, right? So I'm not concerned about only wages. I'm not concerned about only profits. I'm concerned about the sum total of factor incomes, right? What I'm trying to put over here is, I want to know from you guys, is this more or is this more? Can you understand this? Factor incomes of Indians studying abroad, is this part more, or factor incomes of foreigners staying in India is more? Because when I say factor incomes, I would be including wages and profit. I would be including wages and profit. I hope you are able to understand what I'm trying to do over here, right? What I'm trying to do is, I'm trying to find out, is this circle more or is the second circle more in amount? तो बताइए फिर मेरे को कि which one is more? Wages of Indian working abroad. This part we have understood, right? ये ठीक है and ये भी ठीक है, right? What about the sum total? Suppose this is wages of Indian working abroad is more than this. Profit of foreign firms in India is more than this. What about the sum total of wages and profits? Which one is more? Have you understood the question, by the way? The question is, I'm asking about the which factor income is more. Factor incomes of Indians staying abroad is more, or factor incomes of, when I say factor incomes of Indians staying abroad, it means the profit and wages. I'm asking you the profit of Indian firms abroad plus wages of Indians staying abroad. Is this component more, or the profit of foreign firms in India more, foreign firms in India plus sum total of the wages of foreigners staying in India. Have you understood the question? When I say this, I'm saying about profits of Indian firms abroad plus wages of Indian individuals staying abroad. This is one part. Another is profit of foreign firms in India plus wages of foreign individuals in India. Can you understand this part? ये हो गया, राइट? ठीक है ना? तो बताइए मेरे को कौन से वाला ज्यादा है, ये ज्यादा है कि ये ज्यादा है? Is the first more or the second more? How many say first is more? How many say one is more? Raise your hands, please. 2, 3, 4, 5 लोग. How many say second is more? Raise your hands. Look, point is, yes, wages of Indian individuals is much more, but don't you think an individual would be earning some $1 lakh, $2 lakh, $5 lakh, but a firm would be earning $1 crore, $10 crore. So profit of a single firm may be equal to the wages of some lakhs of employees. So we may have less foreign firms in India as compared to, like, we may have very less number of foreign firms in India. But don't you think the profit of Microsoft India, Amazon India, KFC India, MacD India, it's going to surpass or eclipse the profit of incomes of many NRIs abroad? Can you understand this part? So, have you written this part? ये इतना लिख लिया आप लोगों ने? ये सब लिख लिया? So, write down. Factor incomes of foreigners staying in India is more than factor incomes of Indians staying abroad. So, NFIA क्या है? NFIA is factor incomes of Indians staying abroad minus factor incomes of foreigners staying in India. This component is less, yaar. This component is smaller, this component is more, right? Can I say in India's case, क्या है इंडिया केस के अंदर? NFIA is negative for India. Can I write like this? Angel Rani, can I write like this? ठीक है. GNP India is equal to GDP India plus minus NFI. General formula is this. Look, general formula of GNP and GDP is this. GNP is equal to GDP plus NFI. ये एक general formula है, right? This is a general relationship between GNP and GDP. But what we are doing is relationship between GNP and GDP of India. So GNP India is equal to GDP India plus minus NFIA. So तो इंडिया के लिए विच वन इज मोर, जीडीपी और जीएनपी? जीडीपी इज मोर, राइट? सो ठीक है भाई, सब लोगों को क्लियर है? गुड, नेक्स्ट टॉपिक चलते हैं। एनडीपी, एनडीपी नेट डोमेस्टिक प्रोडक्ट। The relationship is NDP is equal to GDP minus depreciation. Depreciation is the cost on maintenance of capital goods. Need not do beyond it. There is never a question has been asked from this. Just remember the relationship that NDP is equal to GDP minus depreciation. Sorry. Nominal GDP and real GDP. Next topic, nominal GDP and real GDP. Do you guys stay silent like this in all the classes, all batches? Means before me, which subject was done over here? Before economics? Internal security, right? You remain silent in internal security also? Good. When are you planning to speak? Next year? Which subject would you be speaking? You have some specific subjects. मैं सिर्फ पॉलिटी में बोलूँगी, मैं सिर्फ हिस्ट्री में बोलूँगा, ऐसा है क्या या नहीं? हाँ बेटा, forgot your name. Swayingam. Yes. So when, in which subject do you speak? Swayingam. You people ask doubts? You guys ask doubts? In which class did you ask your doubt last? In 10th class, 11th class? Or in UPSC you have asked doubts? Have you? When was this batch started? February, right? So how many doubts have you asked till now? You asked me 2 yesterday. You asked me 2 yesterday. You asked me 1 probably yesterday. You haven't. तुम बताओ रिंकी, तुमने कितने क्वेश्चन पूछा आज तक? How many doubts have you asked till now? Okay, you generally ask the doubts after the class, is it? But why do you ask after the class? It's quite possible you have a doubt and the same doubt is with multiple other people. If you ask a doubt, it would be helping 5-6 other different people. So I would prefer you guys ask your doubts in the class. It's quite possible you have a doubt, you have the confidence to ask a doubt. Other kids may not have the confidence to ask a doubt. If you ask something, it's going to help a lot of other people. So just please ask your doubts in the class. ठीक है? तो I don't prefer asking the doubts, means clearing the doubt after the class. The reason is, if there's a doubt in one kid's head, it's quite possible it's with multiple other people. तो क्लास में डाउट पूछा करो, ठीक है? चलते हैं आगे. Nominal GDP, real GDP. Suppose in the year 2011-12, India produced 5 fans and the factor cost of each fan is 100 rupees. So therefore GDP would be 500. ठीक है? Next year 12-13, don't write, समझ लो एक बार. Next year 12-13, suppose India produces 5 fans, but this time the factor cost increases due to inflation. Inflation is price rise. So next year what happens? The factor cost is increasing because the price of aluminium is increasing, the price of plastic is increasing, the price of wires is increasing. That's the reason the cost of a fan is also increasing. So next year GDP would be 600. So we would say that GDP is increasing by 20%. GDP क्या है? GDP is number of goods produced multiplied by price of each good. When I say market value of total goods and services produced, how do I find out market value? To find out market value, I'll have to multiply the number of goods produced by price of each good. That's how I get to GDP. So when would GDP increase? Suppose this is variable 1, right? And this is variable 2. So basically GDP would increase if number of goods produced increases as compared to last year. GDP can also increase if goods remain same but the prices increase. जैसे इस केस में वो the number of goods produced remain the same as compared to last year but the price of each good increased. It can also increase if a combination of V1 and V2 increases, both the production increases and the prices increase. कोई बात नहीं, it's okay. अब समझो. Suppose last year I purchased tomatoes for 40 rupees per kg. ठीक है? This year what happens? The price of crude oil increases. Price of crude oil increases. Therefore, diesel price also increases. Diesel price increases. Therefore, cost of irrigation increases, which means cost of production increases. Cost of diesel increases. That's the reason the cost of transportation would also increase. समझ में आ रहा है मैं क्या बोल रहा हूँ? So what I'm saying is, cost of crude oil increases. That's the reason cost of diesel would increase. Cost of diesel increase, hence cost of transportation and cost of production would increase. So if last year the farmer was selling me tomatoes at 40 rupees per kg, this time he would be selling at 50 rupees per kg. So if last year he was producing 100 kg of tomatoes, his income would be 40 into 100, 4,000. This time his income would appear to be 50 into 100, 5,000. But he is selling it for 50 because his cost is increasing. He is selling at a higher price, but that doesn't mean his profit is also increasing. Profit may be same, but just the amount which he is getting, it is earning, but the cost is also increasing. Therefore, it's quite possible the profit remains the same. So last year I was paying 40 rupees per kg. This time I am paying 50 rupees per kg. For me, the cost of vegetables is increasing. That's not with the case of just tomatoes. If cost of diesel would increase, cost of tomatoes, potatoes, all vegetables, all fruits, all spices, everything would increase. समझ में आ रही बात? So if my cost of living is increasing, what would I do? I would ask Jojo sir. What would I ask Jojo sir? Increase salary. So last year I would be getting 1 lakh rupees. This year I would be getting 1.1 lakh rupees. My income would show an increase. Similar to the way the income of farmer has increased. If I would ask a higher salary, Rishi would ask for a higher salary. The guy who is given this property on rent, even he is buying fruits and vegetables. Even he would ask for a higher rent, right? So when the rent increases, what the salary and the salary increases, what would Jojo sir do with you guys? Increase for higher fees. So ALS would show a higher revenue. But when your father is paying a higher fees, if your father has a shop, AC shop, a cooler shop, a fan shop, any shop which your father has, what would your father do? He would ask for a higher amount from his customer because he's also paying more. Can you understand this? So everyone is passing on the higher cost to the other one, right? So if we go by this, as compared to last year, the GDP would show an increase. The GDP is sum total of our incomes, right? So my income would increase, ALS incomes would increase, your father's income would increase, the farmer's income would increase, the GDP would show an increase, but is there any increase in the purchasing power? There's no increase, it's the same. Can you understand what I'm trying to put over here? The point is, as compared to last year, the GDP would show an increase if there is inflation and there is a 0% increase in production. Can you understand this? This is case 1. It's quite possible. As compared to last year, we produced 6 fans and the factor cost goes up to 120. We would show GDP to be 720. GDP would show an increase of 44%, but in actual, the production has increased by just 20%. Can you understand this? Farmer's standard of living would increase only when he produces more tomatoes. My income would increase only when I take more classes. ALS income would increase only when it has more number of admissions. Your father income would increase, or his purchasing power would increase only when he sells more number of goods. Can you understand this? So if as compared to last year, your father is paying a higher cost and his father is demanding a higher price from his customer, but in hand, if he is having the same amount, it doesn't increase his purchasing power, it doesn't increase his standard of living. His standard of living, or in short, your standard of living would be increasing only when the production increases, not when the prices increase. Can you understand this part? So GDP, it actually tells what's the total income. So GDP, it actually tells what's the purchasing power of people. GDP actually tells what's the standard of living of people. So if I say, if there's a statement which says that GDP of 24-25 increased by 7% as compared to 23-24. If there is a statement that GDP has increased by 7%. So what do you assume? You assume that GDP is increasing by 7%. It means the production has increased by 7%. But we have seen over here that if GDP is increasing by 44%, it doesn't mean the production is also increasing by 44%. If GDP is increasing by 20%, it doesn't mean the production is also increasing by 20%. So, if GDP is increasing by 7%, you would think that the production has increased by 7%, but actually it's quite possible the production is still the same, but the prices have increased by 7%. That's leading the overall GDP to increase by 7%. ये भी तो possible है that as compared to last year, the production is actually going down. And the prices are going up by 10%, that's leading to overall GDP increase of 7%. समझ रहे हो मैं क्या बोल रहा हूं? तो पॉइंट इज, मैं क्या बोला, जीडीपी किस पे डिपेंडेंट है? जीडीपी दो वेरिएबल पे डिपेंडेंट है, वेरिएबल 1 एंड वेरिएबल 2. एंड जीडीपी वुड इंक्रीज इफ आइदर दिस इंक्रीजेस और दिस इंक्रीज और बोथ इंक्रीज, राइट? हाउ डू आई मेक श्योर दैट जीडीपी इंक्रीजेस ओनली बिकॉज ऑफ इंक्रीज इन प्रोडक्शन? I keep this variable as constant. If I make one variable as constant, then GDP would increase only when the number of goods produced increases. So how do we do it? Suppose we produce 6 fans. 120, it's the price of current year. लिखना नहीं है, समझ लो. 120 is the price of current year. Current year means 12-13. We do not calculate GDP based. So what do? Is in the year 12-13, we will calculate two GDPs. One, we will calculate it at current year's price. Other, what I'll do is I'll keep the price as constant, and I calculate GDP on this price. Because if I make this price as constant, then the GDP increases by 20%, and the production would also show an increase of 20%. So I do it every year. And next year, suppose we produce 7 fans, and this year the price has gone to 130. So GDP would come out to 910. So what I do is I keep one price as constant, and for all the coming years I will be calculating GDP based on that price only, so that GDP would increase only because of increase in production and not because of price, because price factor I have made constant. What I do? I keep this year's price as the constant price, as the reference price, as the base price, right? And for all coming years, 12-13, I calculate GDP based on this price. समझ में आ रहा है? So what do we do? Every year we would be calculating two different GDPs. I'll calculate one GDP at the current year's price, and I would calculate another GDP at the base price. So this GDP, first of all, this price, which is the price of the current year, this is called the current price. ठीक, and this price this price, ये ग्रीन वाला, ठीक है, जो ग्रीन वाला प्राइस है which remains constant, right? This price is called the constant price या फिर the base price. This year, ये year कौन सा है? The year whose prices are taken as base price. This year would be called base year. समझ में आ रही बात? और ये जो ईयर है, अभी रुको एक बार, this GDP 910, 1120, 720, ब्लू वाली GDP, ये GDP कौन सी है? Which is being calculated at the current price. 720 is being done at 120, 910 at 130, 1120 at 140, right? It's being calculated at current year's price. Therefore, this GDP is called nominal GDP. मतलब GDP calculated at current prices. ठीक, और ये जो GDP है, कोई और कलर लेते हैं, ये वाले GDP 600, 700, 800, ये GDP कौन सी है? कैलकुलेटेड एट 100, एट 100, एट 100, राइट? सही है? दिस इज द GDP कैलकुलेटेड एट द कांस्टेंट प्राइस. दिस इज कॉल्ड द रियल GDP. What is real GDP? GDP calculated at the base price. ओके है सब लोगों को? ठीक है, लिख लो. Have you written anything in this case? Nothing? जैसे ना, जैसे you people are writing in your notebook, right? And I'm using this system of e-voter. ठीक है. तो फॉरेन यूनिवर्सिटीज में क्या कंसेप्ट है, दैट दे हैव दिस बोर्ड ऑफ एप्पल एंड किड्स यूज एन आईपैड. टीचर वुड राइट लाइक दिस एंड टीचर वुड डू लाइक शू. He does shoe, whatever is written over here, it comes in the iPad of the kids. So don't you think that's amazing? That saves a lot of time. तुम लोग लिखो इसको, तब तक मैं ड्रीम 11 पे टीम बनाता हूं. हो गया? बेटा हो गया तुम्हारा? डन? व्हाट्स योर नेम? वेट, व्हाट्स योर नेम? Chingam, Chingam, and her name was Ringcham. Your cousins? Are the border states? Arunachal, Nagaland, Manipur, right? Am I right? Arunachal has border with Assam only, right? And Nagaland. So, Arunachal, Nagaland, Manipur, Mizoram. Is it? Am I right? The temperature in this classroom and the sunlight which comes from outside, doesn't it give you a feeling of cozy December morning? At least doesn't give me a feeling of August, right? Hot and humid August. Gives me a feeling of this. ये हो गया बच्चा? सब लोगों ने लिख लिया? चलें आगे? हो गया? Alright, समझो अभी. Suppose we continue like this, and then in the year 22-23, okay, suppose case 1, we produce 20 fans at a factor cost of 200 rupees. Okay? And we also start producing ACs. We also produce 5 AC at a factor cost of 1000 rupees. Okay? For the year 22-23, how much would be nominal GDP and how much would be real GDP? It's not there. ACs were not even produced in the year 11-12. We started producing ACs for the first time in 22-23. तो बताइए. Nominal GDP is easy, right? कितना? 20 into plus 5 into 1000, right? This is nominal GDP. What about real GDP? That's it. अच्छा एक बात बताओ, एक मिनट, just hold on please. Yesterday I asked you how much is India's GDP, right? How much is India's GDP? रुपीज में. Rupees 320 lakh crores, right? Yesterday we just talked about GDP. Today we have come across nominal and real too. तो ये जो 320 लाख करोड़ है, ये कौन सी जीडीपी है? ये नॉमिनल है कि रियल है? It's nominal. This is nominal GDP. So how much is India's real GDP? India's real GDP is just rupees 180 lakh crores, around half. तो एक बात समझो, लिखो मत अभी, don't write. Don't you think that as we move away from the base year towards the current year, the difference between the current price and the base price keeps on increasing, right? At the same time, we also start producing new goods. Don't you think because of these two factors, the difference between nominal GDP and real GDP would keep on increasing? Can you understand this part? For example, abhi we are in the year 25-26, right? And if I talk about current scenario, the base year for GDP calculation is 2011-12. This is the real sense. एक्चुअल में बेस ईयर 11-12 है, ठीक है ना? बट 11-12 के अंदर आज के टाइम देखो, आज के टाइम में वी आर प्रोड्यूसिंग ब्लूटूथ हेडफोन्स, ब्लूटूथ ईयरफोन्स, वी आर प्रोड्यूसिंग ऑन एयरपॉड्स. These goods were not even produced in 2011-12. No one even thought about them. If India is produced, बोट का एयरपोर्ट सब लोग यूज कर रहे हैं, बोट का ईयरफोन सब लोग यूज कर रहे हैं, तो बोट तो बने नहीं थी 11-12 में, बोट तो बने प्रॉब्लम 16-17 में. तो डोंट यू थिंक बोट का जो हेडफोन है, ईयरफोन है, वैल्यू ऑफ ऑल दोज एयरपोर्ट्स, ईयरफोन्स, their value is getting added in nominal GDP, but their value is not getting added in real GDP because they were not even produced. When goods were not even produced in the base year, how can you find their base year's value? You cannot find their base year's value. Can you understand this? So write down the difference between nominal GDP and real GDP keeps on increasing over a period of time. Keeps on increasing over a period of time due to two reasons. First, the difference between current prices and constant prices increases. The difference between current prices and constant prices increases. Jamina, doubt bata. Okay. Second, value of newly produced goods, gets added in the nominal GDP, but doesn't get added in the real GDP. सही है? तो क्या करें? सॉल्यूशन क्या है? हाउ डू वी मेक श्योर, तुम लोगों से पूछ रहा हूं, हाउ डू वी मेक श्योर दैट नॉमिनल जीडीपी इज एज क्लोज एज पॉसिबल टू द रियल जीडीपी? सॉल्यूशन क्या है? बताओगे? We change the base year. If we change the base year to 22-23, don't you think we will be able to add the value of all the goods produced in 22-23? Can you understand this? Write down. Therefore, we should revise the base year regularly. The previous base year for calculation of GDP, the previous base year for calculation of GDP was 2004-5, and in the year 2015, in the year 2015, it was changed. It was changed क्या लिखा है मैंने? therefore it was changed to 2011-12. It was changed to 2011-12. It was also proposed that the base year would be revised after every 5 years. Generally, that year is taken as the base year, which is a normal year, and doesn't have any abnormality associated with it. Like there should not be any structural change in the economy. There should not be any structural change or fundamental change in the economy. Any structural change or fundamental change in the economy, comma. There should not be any agricultural drought. Etc. There should not be any agricultural drought. Two thousand sixteen had demonetization. 2017 GST was introduced. 2018 there was an agricultural drought. 2019 corporate tax rate was reduced from 30% to 25%, and the government called it a structural reform. In 2020 there were holidays. Don't write holidays. 2020 COVID-induced lockdowns. And a recession in the economy. Bracket. GDP fell by 7%. 2021 was a year of recovery. Why I'm telling you all these things? Logic है. Why we didn't change? 2015 में change किया, right? So it was proposed that we'll be changing it after every 5 years. So as such, we should be changing it in the year 2020, and we should have made the new base year either as 16, 17, 18, 19, anything. But point is, I told you in 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, something happened. So because of all these reasons, we could not take these years from 16 to 21 as a base year. Can you understand this? Therefore, NSO has recently proposed that the year 22-23 should be taken as the new base year. Can you understand this? ठीक है, that's it for today. ठीक है, आज जो कराया समझ में आया आप लोगों को? Were able to understand? ठीक है, see you tomorrow.